Hi everybody, Matt back with you. Hope you're okay. And thank you for joining us for another walk on the dark side. Today I'm in Haworth and I've come to tell you the story of Lily Cove, Miss Lily Cove, parachutist, balloonist, aeronaut, daredevil, ghost. Haworth in 1906. Hardly the same Haworth that you would think of today. Today, of course, people flock to Haworth for the Bronte sisters, famous novelists. But in 1906, although all the Bronte family pretty much passed away, they hadn't reached that fame yet. They were far off that. So Haworth was actually a fairly tough place to be. It had particularly high mortality rates, specifically in children, and a lot of that was to do with sanitation. Water, drinking water, would actually flow through the graveyard into the wells where they drank from, and that obviously caused a lot of problems. So in 1906, the people, well certainly 1900, people of Haworth needed an escape, and they started to put on an annual gala. And these proved to be quite popular, and the 6th annual gala took place in 1906. Lily Cove was born in London in 1885 under the name Elizabeth Mary Cove. She took the name Lily Cove later, and she had a fairly difficult childhood, which wasn't helped by her father, because all through Lily's childhood her father was in and out of jail for abusing young girls. Ended up being thrown in jail 4 times. So yeah, life was tough. But as an escape, she would go to the galas that took place in London, and she took particular interest in the balloonist, somebody who would sit underneath an gas-filled balloon, float up to the sky and then detach themselves and float back down to Earth. And at one point she finally decided this was the job for her. In 1904 she went to work for a balloon and parachute manufacturer, which was owned by a Captain Bidmead. Bidmead himself was a very successful parachutist. So Captain Bidmead hired Lily to train as a balloonist. He himself had done 400 balloon ascents and 83 parachute descents, but he realised an audience would pay more to see a woman perform the act. So by 1906, aged only 20, Lily had performed 20 ascents and was earning herself a reputation across the UK as a performer of daring, death-defying stunts. So Lily ascended beneath a gas-filled balloon, and then eventually she would jump and parachute down. As her manager, Captain Bidmead travelled the UK with Lily Cove, putting on these spectacular performances. And on June 1906, Miss Lily Cove was the special guest of the 6th Haworth Gala. They booked in to stay at the Old White Lion Inn in Haworth, something which was immediately frowned upon by some of the locals, as they couldn't quite get their head round an older man and a younger lady not being married yet here at the same time. However, Lily's room was number 7. She was popular with her hosts, who viewed her as a glamorous, exciting, adventurous young lady. So the day of the gala arrives, Saturday the 9th of June 1906, and the spectators turn out in their droves right here on what is now a cricket field on West Lane. It's reported there are 6,000 people here to watch Lily Cove's ascent. The crowds gather. The gas supply is attached to fill the balloon, but nothing happens. The balloon will not inflate or take off. They check the balloon and find that there is a tear in the fabric, and the ascent is immediately called off, to much disappointment. Instead, Lily announces that she would go again once the balloon was repaired in 2 days' time. So instead, they announce that it would be on Monday, the 11th of June at 7 p.m. Turn up and watch the ascent then. Captain Bidmead had been a bit freaked out by what had happened and was suggesting to Lily she probably shouldn't go ahead with it. However, she decided people had turned up to see her. The ascent would go ahead. So this time, on the Monday, 7 p.m, 7,000 people have turned up on the field, and they give her a rousing reception as she arrives. And the ascent happens. She rises into the air and heads this direction towards Stanbury and then to Ponden. Ponden is where she planned to descend safely. This photo was taken of Lily at the time as the ascent happened. So this is an actual photo of Lily under her balloon taking off from the field on West Lane. So this would have been taken roughly 7:02 p.m. on the 11th of June 1906. So Lily flew across the valley here, high in the sky. People would come out of their houses to watch. People who were working here came out to cheer her on. Even people in the quarries nearby stopped working to watch a spectacular happening. What a sight it must have been back in 1906, seeing this balloon float across the sky. We take for granted now things in the sky, but there wasn't really even aeroplanes flying around back then. So this must have been breathtaking. And certainly 7,000 people turning up meant that the people who put the gala together were immediately saying this has been a huge success. Lily continued over where I am now, Stanbury, heading towards Ponden. We're going to follow the route as close as we possibly can. We don't know for definite. But unfortunately, this wonderful story of a great success is about to turn into a complete tragedy. Should point out as well, following in a car, following Lily by road, was Captain Bidmead, because once Lily had descended, the plan was that he would pick her up and bring her back, so he was following all the way too. I forgot that this route passes the Old Silent Inn. This is one of the most haunted pubs in the UK. fits in nicely with the area, something we shall revisit another time. As the captain arrives in his car into Ponden, Lily has actually disappeared out of sight. He's too far down in the valley to see where she is. However, Lily has reached the reservoir and she's begun her descent. Now, interestingly, despite being a complete daredevil and unafraid of many things, one thing that Lily is afraid of are reservoirs and potentially drowning in them. On its journey, the balloon had reached 600 feet, 700 feet, and as it reached Ponden Reservoir, it suddenly had an almighty descent. The balloon disappeared out of sight. That building across there was, back in 1906, a tea room, and it was quite busy, full of people excitedly knowing that Lily was going to land somewhere in this area. They also saw the balloon disappear out of sight, and then suddenly the balloon raises back up, but without Lily Cove. The owner of the tea room said that he'd seen Lily jump from the balloon, but only about 40 feet off the land, off ground, did she release the parachute, and it was too late. Lily crashed into the hillside, just in those fields that you can see behind the tree there. She had essentially leapt to her death. People at the tea room all rushed to the field to try and help, and not long after, the captain appeared in his car and found the crumpled, broken body of Lily. She was unconscious. She had blood streaming from her nose and her mouth. She never regained consciousness, and despite the best efforts of the people helping her, Lily passed away. It had only been 9 minutes since she'd left the field on West Lane. Questions are immediately asked about what could have happened, and nobody knows for sure. Only probably Lily would have been able to answer the question, but the suggestion is that maybe she slightly blew off course and was above the reservoir. Just remember, she was terrified of the water, particularly terrified of drowning in the reservoir, and decided perhaps if she'd been slightly off course that she was going to end up above the reservoir, maybe the best thing to do was to jump and hope for the best. Then why would she not have unhatched the parachute first? Interestingly, despite the fact this is 1906, and you can imagine not many females were taking up ballooning at this point, she was actually the 4th female to die in a balloon accident since around 1770. So Lily was placed in the captain's car and they returned to Haworth. The people on the field where Lily had started from were still there, awaiting her return. As they saw the car approach, they gave her a rapturous ovation. But as the whispers got out, the crowd fell silent. Just down in the bottom of the valley there is Stanbury Mill. We have covered that before if you're interested. The video is here. So Lily's body was returned here to room number 7 at the old White Lion, where she'd been stopping already. And rumours are that room 7 is still today occupied by Miss Lily Cove. And people come and deliberately try and stop in that particular room just because there is visions of a lady stood in the room staring at people whilst they are in bed. Now obviously, as always with this, believe what you wish to believe, just always be kind. It may well be true. Haworth is a very haunted place, as we've found out in the past. So on the day of Lily's funeral, the people of Haworth came out in their droves one final time to witness the procession that went from the church to here, Haworth Cemetery. They lined the streets as the hearse drove past. Bizarrely, even Lily's awful father was allowed to attend the funeral. We're going to head inside. We're going to show you the final resting place of the daredevil, Lily Cove. So this cemetery is not the main Haworth Cemetery, which is next to the church. This one was built when that one became full. So the graves in here are slightly newer. And Lily's grave was actually paid for by public subscription. So strong was the feeling of the people in Haworth towards Lily that they basically clubbed together and paid for her grave. All parts of the church here, look, just on the way in, or a chapel. Literally, as you come in, Lily's grave is just to the right. So the sun is not in the best of places for this. Hopefully you can make out there is Lily's balloon, and it says, "In loving memory of Elizabeth Mary, Miss Lily Cove, parachutist, daughter of Thomas Charles Cove," surprise his name's on it, "of London, who died June the 11th, 1906. Now it actually says 21, we believe that's an error. It should be 20 years old. At the bottom here, erected by public subscription in the midst of life. We are in death. I'm sorry it's not easy to see it. It's just when we filmed this before 2 years ago, we came here to film a different story but covered Lily briefly, and we had the sun in exactly the same place, and I'm at a different kind of day, but the sun is still shining on Lily, but that's fine. Here is the final resting place of Miss Lily Cove. When Lily is talked about today, it's most likely her name gets mentioned as part of the Haunted Haworth tours, the ghost tours. we ourselves on this channel have covered Lily in our look at haunted Haworth from 2 years ago. West Lane in Haworth is said to be one of the most haunted roads in the UK. If you want to watch that, check out this video. But I think it's worth covering Lily on her own. And of course there's more to her than just that potential ghost that still stays in room 7 at the Old White Lion. People actually deliberately go and want to book that room just for a ghostly experience, because apparently Lily is seen at the doorway staring at you whilst you're in bed. But the real Lily Cove, the true Lily Cove, I think was an absolute pioneer and somebody who was groundbreaking. How many women back in 1906 would have been brave enough to rip off this skirt, jump on an acrobat beam and fly off into the sky on a balloon? This is Victorian England, the end of Victorian England. You know, if you showed a bit of ankle, you were in trouble. The important thing, though, is that Lily is remembered. Her story has survived now for over 120 years. Rest in peace, Lily. You are a legend. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, why not like, share, subscribe, all the usual good stuff. This is coming out as part of our 4th anniversary celebrations YouTube, The Dark Side of the Moor. So thank you for taking a walk on the dark side with me today. We'll see you very soon. Bye.